Today's featured spotlight is around the focus of planning for summer, and we are happy to have with us Liliana Candelario, Community School Director with Children's Aid at the Fairmont Neighborhood School. Liliana was raised in the Bronx in the same community she serves. She was first hired as an after-school facilitator and worked her way to Community School Director at the Fairmont Neighborhood School, and her desire is to encourage families and students to pursue opportunities and challenge them to set their goals, knowing they have the potential to do whatever they set their mind to. So we're really thrilled to have you here today, Liliana, to share some nuggets of knowledge as you think about what you do for summer. We'll go ahead and begin today, though, with Jorge Blau. Jorge is, before transitioning to the National Center for Community Schools, Jorge served as the community school director also in the Bronx. And when he was doing that work, began leveraging existing programs, slow scaling best practices and programming, really trying to create a systems-based approach. And it worked because in that role, his community school and that strategy were able to reduce chronic absenteeism by 30% in 5 years, reaching above 95% average daily attendance and chronic absenteeism rates as low as 11% or less. So really excited to have both of them here to share a spotlight about the way in which they think about summer planning. And with that, I will turn it over to you all. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I believe, Jorge, you were going to kick us off with a little bit of show and tell.
All right, folks. How's everybody doing today? Everybody's feeling all right? Well, it's good to be here. I won't do introductions again. But our title is really what we hope that you will all think about. How can you really leverage now and this summer to make some really big differences in your chronic absence practice? And we think that these practices have been really effective in creating the systems approach that I was able not only to implement at my site, but you know, true story here. I actually worked at Lilly site, and I was the community school director there before. I get to actually hang out with Lily, and you all met Gary, I think, the last time around. I get to hang out with them all the time, and as I support their full service community school implementation. On that note, very quickly, we're going to talk about why we're here. Lily's going to take us through some slides of why we're talking about this work. She's going to spotlight the Welcome Wagon, which is a practice that they do very much at not only at Fairmont, but it's kind of trickled out to all of our sites in the Bronx. And I know many places do this nationally as well, so I want to give credit where credit is due. And based on a tool here that was born in the National Center, was based on a tool born at Attendance Works, was probably based on a tool before that. We have a plan that I've used with various teams for them to think about your last 30 days of school, your summer 60, and your first 90 days of school. And we'll share that tool with all of you to kind of give you a chance to engage in it. And our objectives, we want to learn ways to leverage the summer and beyond to support your chronic absence initiative and introduce the 30-60-30 tool to 30-60-90 tool to support planning. On that note, I'm going to give some, I don't know if I can do remote control. Can I do that? Let's see. Lily, can you share slides now? I mean, can you forward the slide? Click on it. No? All right, never mind. I'll just forward it for you. All right, Lily, take it away.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to be here with you guys and just talk a little bit about our planning for our attendance. Just a little bit of background. Our school historically was, high chronics. So last year we really honed in on what we wanted to do. So last summer we started, you can go to the next slide, Blau. Really quickly. So last summer we started to do outreach early in the summer to our families, to especially our chronic family, just to kind of like see where they are and how we can better support, and also reminding them of the first day of school, right? So the importance of planning early. Missing the initial 90 days leads to a reactive crisis driven attendance work, right? So when we are not planning ahead of time, we go into a panic mode and we're just going by the current attendance and trying to, catch up. So reactive work focused on crisis response, right? While preventing routines, reduce urgent needs and improve outcomes. Sustaining attendance improvement depends on systems, coordination more than heroics or last minute fixes, right? The community school, my role as a community school coordinator is to manage relationships, align our supports with our school, and make early planning possible, right? I am the co-chair for the attendance team, so I get to, lead our attendance team with our guidance counselor. One really cool thing about us this year, for this year, our principal decided to hire her own attendance teacher, which is something you normally don't see, right? So having her here on a daily basis has helped us kind of like game plan what our initiatives will be, how will we connect with our families, engage with our families, engage with our students, and most importantly, really build those relationships. You can go to the next slide. Proactive early outreach, right? So shifting from a reactive outreach, proactive early contact before school starts to set positive norms, right? So reaching out to our chronic over the summer, making those connections. We have 4 youth advocates that work with us with attendance, right? So they are our face for attendance. They're our young adults that connect with our students, that really build those relationships, right? That make school fun for our students. So we were able to start off in the summer to kind of like kick off what the fall will be. On the first day of school, we were out there bright and early, greeting our students, right? Letting them know how much they were missed, and how excited we were to see them that day, right? Of course, we had little gifts that we gave out to the entire population that showed up on that day. So it was really nice to kind of like engage in that way. From that moment, we already set up the next set of strategies that we were going to use in terms of communicating with families, what incentives we were going to put in place to kind of like encourage families to, our students to come into school. And reviewing some of the data over the summer, we noticed that Mondays and Fridays were some of our highest absent days, right? So we decided to do like Monday Mania, which is our youth advocates promote the day. Students that show up will receive a prize. So that's something that we were doing on Mondays to make sure the students will show up. On Fridays, we decided to do Fun Fridays with collaboration with our school partners, right? And making sure that our staff and some of their staff were able to lead some of the fun activities that the students were able to engage in. So, being proactive, making sure that our families know who we are and how we are here to support definitely help kind of like, push the needle for this school year. Welcoming wagon personalization, right? Relationship center planning, foster partnership and readiness with families. Again, so just being thoughtful with what we wanted to do and rebuilding relationships with our families. Building routines around schedule, right? Early outreach, creating reportable systems for continuous improvements.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit more to that last bullet point there, there is a data team that supports a lot of the work that Lily does. On a monthly basis at Children's Aid, our community schools have what is called a data rhythm meeting, which allows them to do a deep dive into attendance data and other program data as it's connected. With that support, that allows her to really create those spaces, not only is there institutional support from the agency, but there is also the work that she's doing to change culture within the school to look at data in that way. So I just wanted to make sure not to leave that out.
Mhm.
And I'll go to the next slide and Lily, go ahead.
Thank you. And I would add that in those data rhythms, right, we're really looking at the data, some of the trends, and we bring that back to our attendance meeting. With our data rhythms, we have a service tracker where our youth advocates are able to track the services they are doing with our families, whether phone calls, outreach, letters, or just in-person connections, right? So all of these things are tracked into our system, which we review during those monthly data rhythms. Why it was important and impactful, right? Changing families' experience, right? Proactive outreach transform family, school, communities. Something that we know based on history is a lot of our families take extended vacation before the beginning of the school year, and then towards the end of the school year. And aside from in between our already scheduled off time, but there's some extension there. So pre-planning before September allows us to be ready and target our specific students and their specific cohorts, right? So early planning prevents last minute chaos by clarifying priorities and roles. So our attendance meeting, the expectation is that our youth advocates will engage with our students and families. We also have school aides that support the work and for the most part are the ones that are doing the outreach to families and letters and monthly celebrations when it comes to certificates and things like that. So we work closely together to ensure that our families and students have what the information they need in terms of attendance. Impact on attendance. So early relationship building, right? Targeted planning contributes to attendance improvements at school. Something that we've been doing this year is our success planning, which is making sure that every student in our school is connected to a caring adult. So the students having the ability to have a person that they can trust in the school has also built relationship and kind of started to change our school culture. And attendance is a huge part of that. Next slide. Why this leads to better outcomes. Early family contact shifts focus on readiness and barrier solving instead of reacting to absences. With our outreach, we've been able to connect families to different services. We have a food pantry. We have Children's Day Health Clinic that's not too far from us. We have partners within our school to connect families to, mental health services or any of those supports that may be preventing them from coming to school. We do the walking school bus for our families. The most important thing that I kind of want to share, since the beginning of the school year, we have daily attendance meeting to really kind of like get to the root cause of why our students have not been coming in and connect with the families. So that's another area that kind of like helped lead the way when it comes to the attendance here at Fairmont. Establishing student and family relationship, right? So calls, check-ins, building belonging and ease fragile school transitions. Staff preparedness, right? Clear plans, roles, understanding what the root cause and of why students are not coming to school, monitoring strategies and avoiding last minute scrambles. The daily meetings have definitely helped us identify some of those root cause and be able to set up supports for the families. System level alignment, coordinating efforts across roles aligned to school improvement goals, right? So the guidance counselor, our attendance teacher, and myself, we've been planning. We've done attendance audits twice already in the year just to make sure that there's no discrepancies. We tend to have students that come late a lot, right? So we want to make sure that we catch that. So we have a late monitor in the front door, just catching the students that are coming in late. So we are really trying to be proactive and catching a lot of the things that may have slipped last year. So that way it kind of like been helping with our attendance. Yes.
All right. Lily, can you do us a favor just real quick? Can you just describe what the youth advocates did for the Welcome Wagon and how you set it up? That would be really good for folks seeing.
Yeah. So again, planning through the summer with the youth advocates, they have been the face for attendance. So they're here on early in the morning, checking in with the students. They're the first kind of like face that they see. We have created month two incentives, right? So a bigger incentive for the month and then smaller ones that we can really get kids in. So with that support, we've been able to, kind of like engage in our attendance, make sure that our teachers, our families, and students understand our goals, right? Fairmont has been, last year we ended at 40% chronic. This year we've been ranging, in the 20s to 30s. During the winter times, it's the heavier for us. So we went up to about 39, and I'm, happy to say that we've made it to um, six in the district for District 12, and that's something that we've never been at before. So we're really excited. But it's all because of the work of the youth advocate being consistent, going into the classrooms on a daily basis, checking in with teachers, checking in with families, checking in with the students, just to see where they at and what they need. When there's an issue occurs, or if somebody's not feeling right, they come to the youth advocates, they look for them, they come looking for their navigators, right? So those are some of the things that we have been able to put in place to change the culture of our school, to kind of build those relationships. But our youth advocates are, here on a daily basis, in the morning, before, after school, and just working with our school community to, spread the need for students to be here, and just making sure students understand that they are missed when they're not at school.
How do you get them to work over the summer, Lily?
We run summer camp. So our youth advocates normally work with our summer camp program. But we do dedicate time during the morning, during summer rising time, because we work with DOE, and we pull out, 2 to 3 days out of the week, and we just have an hour of planning time with them. And that's how we are able to develop our time. So that is the idea that we will be doing for this summer. But the cool thing about this summer is that we're adding our attendance teacher and our guidance counselor to the team of planning. Before the June is over, we will be doing our last audit for the year, just to make sure that we don't find no discrepancies. And we are already in our planning phase for next year. So, we're looking at what worked, what didn't work, and putting that into spreadsheets, so that way we can start strong and, planning now through the summer to start strong in September.
One more question, Lily. When are you planning to start the Welcome Wagon initiative this year? Like, when are you thinking about kicking off these phone calls and this relationship building opportunity?
So we're kind of like setting the stage now, so that in the summertime, especially during the month of August, our youth advocates, our attendance teacher, Ms. Carrion, will be connecting with families, letting them know what we have in place, first day of school, what the holidays are, and how we're starting with our students.
Awesome. Also, practitioners around the country, which is our 30, 60, 90 tool. It's really a way of it's really a way of focusing in on your last 30 days, your summer 60, and your starting strong 90, right? How are we going to leverage these three periods to support a lot of the work that's going on, right? We want to shift focus from attendance days missed. We want to look to understand reasons and pathways, right? Why are students missing? What are the things that are getting in their way? And we want to leverage enabling solutions oriented conversations, right? Like, how are we talking about the solutions component to it? What you could see in the tool here, and I will share it in the slides, in the chat, so you can all download your own version. In that first box here, you could see that we're really focusing on which student group should we target and why, right? In the summer, what are the groups that you should target, right? You need to identify that now. Identifying them across root cause is going to be more beneficial than identifying them just by their number alone, right? So you can actually ascertain which practice you want to implement over the summer. Lily right now is talking about the Welcome Wagon, which is really this exciting phone banking, and that they have dedicated staff, but I can see that practice in itself being developed even more. What if the principal has a call list of severely chronic students? Now that they've actually gotten a full-time attendance teacher, which is a rarity in New York City, attendance teachers are split amongst 5 schools, and they typically get 1 school per day. But the principal was very innovative here with some budget surplus to hire that person, right? So what does that mean in the summer? What is that going to look like for these to identifying those root causes and finding those right supports? So really kind of thinking about that. How teams use these tools, they use identifying attendance patterns, they group by root cause, they do coordinated outreach planning, they work with various teams to support the development of this practice. This is not something that one person can do on their own. This is something that multiple people need to be doing. And there are many ways to get staff to work in the summer. No schools they're not swimming in money, but there's always ways that there's typically folks in the building that can do some of this work. And one of the considerations on this sheet is how can you leverage the partners to do this work as well? What partners exist over the summer? Are your kids going to summer camp? What messaging is there around chronic absence in that summer camp? What conversations? Is there an opportunity for you to visit the summer camp and just build stronger relationships with young people in a place that's not a school building?